Hello everyone, this is Serious Trivia. Welcome back to another early game playbook video. Today our guide will be covering the Lord Cao Cao, the strategic mastermind. Now he is one of our coalition members and the faction that is given the easiest starting situation in the game. Now many players have voiced their opinion on whether the fact that Cao Cao is easy or not. Today we're not going to argue about that, we're just going to be doing our alternate guide to Cao Cao's start. Because on our channel we have done a legendary Cao Cao Let's Play, and I believe the turn 1 and 2 early game playstyle featured in that guide is pretty optimum for playing Cao Cao if you decide to stay in the starting region in the Central Plains. However, we want to do a separate alternate version of that guide where we migrate down south. That's what's going to be featured in this guide. Now the reason why we're doing this alternate version is with alongside our other guides that we have already published on the channel. I believe going south plays into Cao Cao's strength and how he's designed gameplay wise. So let's talk everything over and see how that works out. So here we have Cao Cao, our strategic mastermind. He is a commander in the game, so he excels at inspiring friendly troop, but weaker in melee, best group with retinues of melee cavalry. His faction bonuses are minus 10% cost to cavalry upkeep and plus 15 military supplies. Both of these are quite good bonuses. The minus 10% upkeep for cavalry will be very useful considering that his faction unique unit is a very strong cavalry unit, and the plus 15 military supplies should help us on our migration trail as we never have to worry about running low on supply and suffering through attrition. Now his faction specialization, you have one faction special resource called credibility. Credibility bar goes from 0 to 100 and you gain credibility passively each turn. You can use credibility to incite proxy wars or influence diplomatic relationships. So how this works. So you can either use 75 points of credibility to trigger a war between parties A and B in the diplomacy screen. So basically you can go talk to one faction and offer them a war, basically a war challenge between that faction and another faction of your choosing, and obviously they will weigh in whether they want to start this war or not and give you a diplomatic value, which you can balance if it's negative, or if it's positive, means they're very happy to go into this war that you have suggested, and you can even ask them to pay you to start a war. Conversely, you can also use only 25 points, 1/3 of the value of the proxy war, to influence their diplomatic relations between parties. So you can positively influence relationship or negatively influence relationship as well. You can do this between any two parties in the game, including yourself. So you could make someone like you more or hate you more, or you can make someone like someone else more or hate them more. Now this relationship boost isn't permanent, it will decline over time, but it's a nice way to get yourself out of some diplomatic troubles that you see brewing on the horizon. Now credibility, like we said, is gained passively every turn. So the playstyle focus for Cao Cao is diplomatic manipulation. This kind of conveys into Cao Cao's personal character trait historically, as someone who would rather betray the world than have the world betray him. So his unique features as a faction, he has Tiger and Leopard Cavalry and Heavy Tiger and Leopard Cavalry. So obviously this is the upgraded version of these basic units. So Tiger and Leopard Cavalry are available to all generals in Cao Cao's forces after they have reached rank 3 or higher, and Heavy Tiger and Leopard Cavalry becomes available after rank 6. Now these are slightly unique shock cavalry units in that they carry a shield. So if you see the description, they are all-rounders and they have defense against missiles because they carry such shield and they're heavily armored, but they have low damage. So by low damage here, it doesn't mean they don't inflict heavy damage. What they do is they inflict their damage through their charge attack, but if they stall in melee combat, their combat stat is quite low. So what you want to do with these units, if you pursue this route, is you want to constantly cycle charge your cavalry on enemy units and take advantage of their high charge damage and not get them bogged down in melee combat where their low damage would impact their effectiveness. Now the reason why we're going south is because of this building right here. So Cao Cao's faction unique building, he has two of them. He has one called the Farming Garrison, which is a farming county replacement building. So most unique buildings in the game are buildings you build in your settlement. But Cao Cao has a unique county replacement building in the Farming Garrison. These are applied to the farmland counties throughout the game. Now in the game there are two types of farmland counties. There is the grain farmland counties that you will find in northern China. Everything above the Yangtze River. Every single grain farmland you find north of the Yangtze River will be a grain farmland. And every farmland you find in the south is called rice paddies, or basically rice farmlands. And Cao Cao has a variation for both of these type of farmlands. So this is the building that we're going to take advantage of in the game. Now this building, as you can see here, gives you extra food and most importantly extra replenishment. Lastly, Cao Cao has a very standard replacement building. This is called the Tuntian conscription. Tuntian is type of military policy that was implemented during this time, where during the off season for soldiers, that they would just gather up in the land that they are stationed in and become farmers to farm the land and take care of this war-torn country. So Tuntian conscription kind of plays into that role. It replaces the typical conscription building, which deals with increasing ranks for your new recruit, increasing your seasonal retinue deployment, and your redeployment costs. Now, additionally, this Tuntian version of the building, because it's where soldiers would station in their land and farm, you get a boost to food production. So Cao Cao as a faction has the highest potential to have the most food in the game. So because of these two factors, a special thing about farming counties and the fact that they have a conscription building that boosts food production, I think it's best that we go south and take advantage of all these unclaimed rice paddies down south and play to our strength. In terms of noteworthy characters, Cao Cao is pretty rich with them. He starts out the game with Xiahou Dun and Xiahou Yuan. These two cousins, they're not brothers, they're cousins, are related to Cao Cao through in-laws. Historically, Cao Cao, there's rumors that Cao Cao's father used to be part of the Xiahou clan, but that has been kind of done away as a conspiracy theory after they did a DNA test on this, after they discovered Cao Cao's grave. But what we know is that Cao Cao's first wife, Lady Ding, and her sister, Lady Ding's sister, married Xiahou Yuan. So that's why they're in-laws, that's why they're related, and that's why the Xiahou clan are here to help Cao Cao in his quest to become a warlord. Aside from these two special legendary characters that you start out with, Cao Cao will get many events throughout the game to acquire many other unique and legendary characters. So with that said, we're once again playing on legendary with 40-minute battle timers, and we're gonna kick in here and see this pretty quick guide on migration strategies for Cao Cao. Alright everyone, we loaded into the game. Quite familiar with this setup. We start out with a battle with the enemy in front of us, which is a Han Empire enemy, because we're part of the coalition. Now let's center the map and take a look at where we are. We start out in the town of Chen. We're in the middle of the Central Plain, surrounded by the Han Empire, Liu Dai to the north, and Yellow Turbans to the east. We're in the middle of where all the actions are. You know, Liu Bei is over here to our east. To the north, we have Yuan Shao. To the south, we have Yuan Shu, the Yellow Turbans, Liu Biao, and everyone else. So if we stay here, we can probably, become the strongest faction, suppress everyone else, and cruise into a pretty easy mid game. But what we're going to do is we're going to leave all this behind and go down south. We start the game as usual to take a look at our items, which is pathetic. 2 common items. Okay, no problem. So if we take a look at our inventory, we do have legendary items on legendary characters at the beginning of the game. This is perhaps an argument you can make whether, Cao Cao has the easiest starting situation, because you are given a lot of resources. We do always start the game with the herdsman, which is nothing to brag about. It's also just a very common item. And we're just going to give these to Xiaohodun, I guess, because they are resolve items. And I guess since we only have this additional item, we'll just give it to Cao Cao. We can take a first look at our characters before we start. Everyone's pretty much family in Cao Cao's camp. If we look at the family tree, we see that our dad is still alive, Cao Song. And over here, we have our cousin Cao Ren, our wife, Lady Bian, and our two lovely sons, Cao Ang, who is 13, and Cao Pi, who is only 3, and our heir. So the first thing you really need to do when you play as Cao Cao is to make your wife, Lady Bian, your heir. This will solve multiple problems. Let's talk about those a bit later, but let's make her our heir now. And other than our family here, we have Xiahou Yuan and Xiaohodun, our two legendary characters in our court. Now we know the relationship already, kind of briefly described that they're basically our in-laws. So basically everyone that you start out with are family, so we're not going to be kicking anyone out, even if they're not super good, like our father, cough cough. If we look at our heir now, our Lady Bian, she is a magistrate, so we get plus 5% income from all sources. Very good. She is a commander, which is the best class to be heir, in terms of generic generals, that is. And that way she gives us pretty good authority points. And to increase this a little bit more, we can go with authority sword. And that's pretty much not going to change much in terms of stat, but as we get more skills, it's going to give us more satisfaction. She also starts with suspicious, so plus 10 points to undercover network cost for enemy spies. It's really, really hard to be spied on by other factions as Cao Cao. You slow down spies a lot because Cao Cao is also suspicious. So with a combination of Cao Cao and his wife, it's plus 20 points to any actions a spy want to take against Cao Cao. Now, Lady Bian also brings about no more trait bonuses, but as she level up, right, her level up path will be dignity for plus 5 faction support, nobility plus 1 assignment, minus 25% redeployment cost, plus 1 additional rank for all recruits. So many useful skills for Lady Bian to pick up. And to level her up, we want to stick her into our capital commandery of Chen to have her boost peasantry income, which is actually the focus of Chen as well, with the livestock and a farmland county. Additionally, we can give a mission over to another character, perhaps, maybe Cao Ren, to speed up construction time. It's not going to play a major role here because we're going to abandon this commandery pretty much. So the building we're going to build will be tax collection, because we don't really care about public order here. It can go down the drain. You can trigger rebellions, give it over to the yellow turbans, give it over to any of the faction who want to attack you. Doesn't really matter to us. We just want some cheap income while we sell down south. So that take care of our commandery over here. We also need to take a look at our diplomacy. So while our armies are full health and our maximum strength, we can negotiate some trade agreement. The only party that we see right now is Liu Dai. So let's talk to him. So he's willing to offer us 1.2 points, and if we want to get some money out of him, you can see that he's not, the amount here is a little bit awkward. So what I suggest is actually trade away some of our food. Now, like we mentioned early on, we are a great food producing faction. So food diplomacy is a must. So in this case, we would give him over 1 food. We can negotiate a slightly better deal. I think maybe 57 would do it. Yep. There we go. Alright, with our trade deal out of the way, we can now freely attack and delegate and not worry about losing men. If you want to know how to fight this without losing men, you can watch our Cao Cao Let's Play. I believe I fought the battle out over there. So for here, in the sake of saving time, we're just going to delegate away these fights. Alright, didn't lose that many men. We even captured him. So a bit of extra income for us. We're not going to be interested in recruiting him. It's going to be just a salary spot in our faction. So we're just going to release him. We'll take some more income. Alright, and our next mission is to take the livestock farm of Chen, which we will do. Now, conversely, if you started the game out with a lot of ancillary item, or ancillary item that you don't need, like a good armor, perhaps, because our key characters are all legendary. They all have their unique armor, so you don't need to equip armor on anyone at the beginning of the game. So in the case that you get an armor set, you can definitely take this turn 1 opportunity to negotiate with the factions around you to see if they're willing to trade some good items for your armor, perhaps. Because we are friendly with Yuan Shao because we're childhood friends, so you could negotiate with them starting at turn 1. The only issue is we don't have a direct trade route available, so we can't trade with them. Now let's continue. Another simple delegate here will do. Alright, let's occupy. Now we're not gonna loot anything to reduce their level. We get that your economy grows, which we will pretty much abandon right away. Now the reason why it doesn't really matter for us to level these down is because they are going to provide us quite a bit of income as we travel down south, and we are trying to boost peasantry income. So keeping all these buildings will help our income stay afloat, giving us a nice big bankroll once we go down south. And as always, we're getting rid of our men. If you want to keep a unit, perhaps you can keep this unit, because it's usually, if you delegate, this is a unit that levels up, but I believe it's better off if we just travel alone. So now we have Cao Cao and Xiahou Dun journeying down south. Now the path to take down south is a bit interesting. So after trying this out a few times, I believe the best path is actually to trespass through Wang Lang's territory. Cut through his territory on this little road right here. Right, we're going to borrow across Yangtze, and then we're going to head across here, and then basically go straight for the river. The reason why we don't go south through the Han Empire territory is because the city of Yangtze, if we take a look here, we can kind of see it here, is guarding this bridge. So the influence of the city is wide enough so it kind of blocks the bridge. So if we want to go through this way, it will waste a turn of us manually crossing over this small stream. So to save time, it's better to go across here, because this stream bridge here, crossing the stream, is not being protected by a city radius. So it'd be a little bit faster for you to go south. And we're actually going to start headed down with every bit of movement point we have. Our goal is to hit the rice paddy here in KuaiJi. And our goal is to grab KuaiJi Commandery as our first commandery in the game, and then march up north and grab the rest of Jianye, which is the most lucrative commandery in the game, and then expand down south as though we were playing a mirror image of the Sun Jian campaign, and take advantage of all the resources down south, as well as Cao Cao's faction ability to turn rice paddies into these replenishment machines, which we will see once we get over there. So let's end our turn now. Alright, it's turn 2. We can take a look at character development. It's likely you get some really good characters in the first few turns, and that's fine. You can recruit them. We have plenty of salary and income to work on. Here we want to go to March, and we want to get out of town as quickly as possible. So you see this road, we want to kind of follow it. We will be trespassing, so it's going to hurt our diplomatic relationship a bit with Wang Lang, but it's really not going to matter in the long run. What we want to do is follow this road down south and get down as south as quickly as possible. We'll be trespassing quite a few factions, but they're all very minor. So let's continue. All right, turn 3. We have finished our building, triggering the your economy grows, and we got growing might as our next mission. Here we're just gonna continue to build up our attack collection building, and that's it. After this building's complete, we're kind of done with our construction here. There is no point to upgrade any of these buildings, as we will eventually lose these commanderies as some forces will come take it over. Meanwhile, we're just interested in getting into the river as soon as possible. Now we will run into some stray Han Empire armies along the way. Sometimes they will attack you, but if you just retreat from the attack, they usually do not give chase. Our goal is just to get into the water and start sailing as soon as possible. It should be fine. Now, one caveat is that once we hit to Jianye, we'll meet Liu Yao. Liu Yao is very likely to attack whoever he sees, as in declare war, which is fine because eventually we want all of Jianye under our control. But he's usually not aggressive enough to chase you. We just want to be mindful when we're crossing through his territory and get out as soon as possible. Let's see who we got. No one too impressive. Let's continue to go on. We did get an item. Okay, Rite of Jolt. So this is a nice item to put on Cao Cao. Give us a little bit more authority points. Actually, satisfaction. Maybe Lady Bian would be better. She functions the same way in terms of authority points. And the +8 satisfaction will help her out. She is quite a difficult character to keep happy in your faction if you don't give her the air slot. So let's continue. Alright, it's spring. We got KuaiJi in our recruitment pool. We're gonna grab him. Very lovely character, one of my favorite. I wish they would boost his stats a little bit, because it's still +30 points even though he became a legendary character. It should be +60, guys. All legendary characters at least have 60. Alright, we're finally in the water. We're still on full speed, good. Now we can go pretty quickly all the way over here. It's our goal. We'll get there soon. We also get our first reform. There's a few ways to go here. So Cao Cao's faction start out with regional commissioners unlock. So it seems to imply that we should go for a military route. In our most recent guide about Gongsun Zan's guide, we went for a regional levy for the 10% replenishment. But for Cao Cao's faction, you do not need this bonus because you have so many ways to get faction-wide replenishment. And replenishment, the stat itself maxes it out at 50%. And you can easily max it out without this reform ever being taken. So it's rather a waste to go down this tree. There's two routes that I would suggest for you to take. One is our typical Onyx Dragon route. This route makes sense for a couple of reasons. One, we're going down south. We're going to grab Jianye as our first major economic commandery. So that commandery right there would be a commerce and industry commandery. And going along this path unlocks some of the key commerce and industry buildings. You also get some extra trade routes which you can take advantage of right away because you still have your capital building in Chen. If you don't like this route, because whatever reason, you can also go down and go for the green tree route. That takes a lot of reform. Both of these branches probably need to be taken. This is to maximize your food, to maximize your farmland upgrade, maximize your livestock farm upgrade. It's not a bad route, but it is a lot of reforms to take to become efficient. It's not going to return you the same amount of income that you would get if you went for the Onyx Dragon route. You can always go Onyx Dragon route first and then transition into more of an agricultural route after. So here I'm going to be taking foreign envoys for the extra trade agreement. And we're going to put that to use. Now we have a faction here, Kong Zhou's faction, who's willing to trade with us. Good for them. And you could offer them another food to spice up the deal a little bit so that they can give you a bit more money. Now we don't need to ask for a ridiculous amount of money, so we don't need to give them any more food than 1 because you get the most value at 1 food at 1.5. Any additional food will just be 0.5. So to be efficient here, we're just going to trade away 1 food for some additional gold. Okay, and that's done. So that boosts our income even more, and we're building quite a bankroll now, which is nice. So we're going to sail down. Nothing else to see. Let's continue. Alright, we got a non-aggression deal. We're going to be making payments. We're just going to reject these. Okay, we got another Anzuri item. Book of Songs. Another authority item. This one we can give to Cao Cao because it also gives a bit of morale for army. And he's actually in our army. Lady Band leveled up. We can pick up dignity over here. We just basically want these 4 reforms. We start with dignity, get flexibility, nobility, and understanding. Alright, we continue selling down south. Nothing else to see here. So Jianye here is clearly our first target. Why are we going so slowly? We are going full speed. Interesting how... might be because of this port kind of slowed us down as we went into their zone. Anyways, if you don't want to sail all the way down here, it's okay for you to land, let's say in Jianye salt mine, and just take the salt mine with these 2 generals. It's definitely possible that you can beat back this garrison with just your generals. It's not hard, even at half health. But if you wanted to keep them at higher health, just fight the first 2 battles manually and use your men rather than your generals during the fights. And that way you keep your generals at top health to fight a battle like, say, the Jianye salt mine. But right now, because we want to feature the rice paddy, we're going to sail all the way down a bit farther south. And let's continue. I believe there's nothing to be built here anymore. Yes, we can't level it up to level 3 because not only is it locked by reform, it's also locked by the fact it needs to be a small city. So we're happy to keep this at 613 incomes as the public order goes down. Let's continue. Yuan Shao wants us to form a coalition. We don't want to do anything with him. Alright, like we said, Liu Yao's faction tend to declare war on whoever sees them, and they have declared war on us. No problem, we're already out of their water. We can get down to safety over there, and this war will actually make it easier for us to destroy them early on. Alright, we got declare war. Sun Jian already died. We're getting more items. Replenishment. We can just give it to whoever's least happy. So maybe Xiahou Yuan, because his level's a bit high and he's just sitting here doing nothing. We got Xun Yu. So he's also burnt. Usually if he comes first, you can grab him and he will trigger an event that gets you Guojia. In our case, we already got Guojia, but he has a fondness to our faction coded into him, so he will often appear in our recruitment pool. We can definitely grab him as well. So playing as Cao Cao, you're going to get a lot of cool characters. So let's continue setting sail. Yeah, it's a lot smoother once we leave that trade port area. Now, if you're confident and want to cheese out a victory, you can also start out by attacking this small town in KuaiJi. Just the town, you just have to spread out your generals at the beginning of the fight and sneak in an unguarded door, take control of the arrow towers, and then just psycho charge the enemy troops. It's very easy to do considering it's a level 1 settlement, but we're just going to play it safe and claim an unclaimed piece of land for our playthrough. Let's continue. Alrighty, so we got Xu Huang and Yu Jin. So you see the characters are pouring in, and that's basically where all our money is going to go, is to recruit these legendary characters that belongs with Cao Cao's faction. So we get Xu Huang, we get Yu Jin. So our roster is growing. And we have almost arrived at our location. We can claim this rice paddy next turn. Perfect. Alright, make sure to switch back to normal stance next turn, or else you can't claim it. So continuing on. Alright, so you're getting offered various deals with your neighbors back north. No need to do anything with them. Alright, they'll try and prevent trigger, so don't draw might die soon. Okay, no characters this time. Normal stance. 4,000 gold for this territory. Alright, now we got to build it from the ground up. So this is the normal rice field, right? So this is the normal rice field that everyone has in the game. If we take a look at it, it goes from 2 food all the way to 12 food at level 5. Cao Cao's rice farming garrison building instead goes from 2 food and plus 2% replenishment faction wide. So this is not just regional replenishment rate. If you've been watching our Yellow Turban Let's Play that's new to the channel, we built the Forge building, which give local 10% and 20% replenishment rate, and that was super strong, super OP. But the caveat there is that you have to be stationed in that commandery to receive that bonus. Here, the replenishment rate is faction wide. You get it in all friendly territories, no matter where you are once you build this building. So you get starting at 2% and 2 food at level 1, goes all the way up to 8 food and 15%. So you're obviously losing out on 4 food versus the normal rice farm, but you get 15% replenishment faction wide at level 5. Not only that, if you look at the garrison troop amount, you get 2 full sets of retinues within this garrison. And the structure, the map that you fight on, if they fight you here in a rice garrison fortress, will be a heavily defended tower fort fight that's similar to an iron mine fight. So you have a very nice, easily defensible county that's providing you faction-wide replenishment. And there are, I think, 9 rice paddies available down south. All you need is maybe 4 of them, and then you'll hit the maximum 50% replenishment, right? 4 of them, you're already at 60. That's maybe even too overboard, but you're probably not going to be able to level them up to level 5 right away. So to build those, you want to convert your land first. Once you convert it, you can build the garrison version. Or if you want to get food a little bit faster, you can build the level 1 farm and then convert it. The conversion cost is going to be a little bit higher at that point. You can go either way. It doesn't really matter. So for us, our army has settled in here. Our next goal is to take out the small town of KuaiJi and then claim the livestock farm as well. So all we need to do to take down this small town is start out with a pretty minimum army of just KuaiJi will be fine. So get rid of both units. These 3 generals should be strong enough to take down the town. If you want, you could also wait a little bit, sit here, and recruit a full retinue of army here. Take advantage of your growing might bonus from this mission. Right? We have this mission on hold till whenever we have 4 units on the field. Right now we have 3. So if you either use the generals and cheese out a victory at KuaiJi, or wait a few turns till you have the money to build your first legitimate army. What you really need in this legitimate army is just spear guards for Xiaohodun, and for KuaiJi, 2 trebuchets and 4 archers. Cao Cao can actually use 6 archers because Cao Cao has very high cunning stat for a commander. And archers are just the most cost-efficient early game unit. So we're going to abuse that and the fact that KuaiJi has Bro-In trait. And that army of 10 archers, 2 trebuchets, and 4 to 6 spear guard, depending on how well economy is doing, should be strong enough to get you control of the entire southern region of Jianye and KuaiJi, and also open you up to expand in Xindu and eventually Poyang, because Poyang actually has the weaponsmith. So that's your early target here. Once you secure the coastline region this way, you can slowly settle into the south over here, because each of these empty commanders is going to cost you quite a bit of money. So the goal is not to waste all your early game gold on these commanderies early on, because that's a heavy investment in terms of developing these commanderies till they're profitable. It's much better off to take these Han Empire commanderies as you go along, and also racing towards Poyang over here, because Sun Jian is going to be doing the same thing, heading towards east as you head toward west. So it's basically a land grab. Now this pretty much ends our guide. There's not much to say. We kind of playing this to feature the rice paddy county. I think this highlights Cao Cao's specialty in terms of his game design, and also opens up to a lot of gameplay in the south, which has very unique maps that you often don't see when you play the battlefield, that you don't see when you've done most of your battles in the central plain over here. So the gameplay style is to grab KuaiJi early on, or grab Jianye early on, make Jianye your feature commandery. You don't have to worry about losing your base over here. Eventually make Jianye your capital, because it has a nice harbor building, which opens up your trade with any of the different factions down here through this Yangtze River. grab the land that's available for taking right now through the borders of the Yangtze River, and then slowly expand down south, wipe out Sun Jian, grab your spice, and then the rest of the game is pretty easy once you control the south. Headed back north with 50% replenishment on all friendly territory is just going to make your fight so easy, right? You can pour your armies across, they can heal on the spot, even in newly taken commanderies. Let's say no population bonus, no mustering bonus. All your troops are automatically going to heal within 2 turns just because you have rice paddies down south. And that's our guide for Cao Cao. It's a bit short, but with our new Let's Play going on, I think this is pretty nice. Our next faction early game special will feature Zhengjiang, the bandit in the north. It'll be a nice change of scenery. So hope you guys come back for that one this weekend, and see you next time. Bye!